Got some help with reading today. This is Christmas, aka Big Hisser. Hey, cutie. Look at you. Okay, today we're going to read the first chapter in part 2. Whoa. And it's called Settling In. If my arrival at Edgeview reminded me of a prison movie, the start of my stay reminded me of endless television reruns. My second day was distressingly like my first. I went to classes, got in trouble, and went to more classes. My second week was also pretty much like my first. In other words, I had settled into a routine, which wasn't all that easy since things in the classroom had a way of changing. We actually played a board game in math for a couple of days until someone stole the dice. Mr. Langhorne tried different stuff in geography too, but no matter what we did, he always yelled. Even in history, we didn't wear costumes every day. Thank goodness, I was getting sick of the smell of talcum powder. Sometimes we had a lecture or a test. Miss Nomad couldn't seem to stick with one approach for more than a couple of English classes. We did worksheets for 2 days in a row, and then we memorized stuff for 3 days. That was awful. I know a preposition when I see one. I sure don't have to memorize a list of them. Then we sat and read. That was better. Then we sat and wrote, which was okay too. Despite what I had said to Miss Nomad, I did kind of like to write, except when we had to do stuff about ourselves. One day she made us write an essay called Why I Like Being Me. Give me a break. But whatever we did in class, I could usually expect to be doing something else a couple of days later. So the main thing that never changed about classes was that things always changed. Most of the time, my teachers just ignored me. That was fine. If they didn't talk to me, I didn't talk back. I figured if I just stayed invisible as possible, I just might forget about the first day and vote to send me back to regular school when the time came for my review. I even did all my homework, though once in a while Torchy burned it before I could hand it in. There was just one problem. The teachers didn't always cooperate with my plan. Sometimes they'd slip up and ask me a stupid question, and I'd say something that would piss them off, but mostly they were just learning to leave me alone. As for my social life, it took almost 3 weeks and one foolish moment on my part before Torchy and the others shared their secret. I knew something was going on. A person would have to be as dumb as dirt not to notice all the winks, whispers, and meaningful glances they exchanged every Friday. They sure weren't playing checkers. The first Friday night after I arrived, Torchy slipped out of the room around 8. He mumbled something about going to the bathroom. He was gone for hours. If he'd spent all that time in the bathroom, there'd be nothing left of him. Torchy snuck back in around midnight, moving with all the silent grace of a moose on a floor full of marbles. I was half asleep, but as I glanced at the glowing hands of his desktop when I heard him tiptoe in the hallway. He repeated the scene a week later. The clumps of snow clinging to the sides of his shoes made it obvious that he'd been outside. I didn't worry about it. I figured they'd tell me sooner or later, and if they didn't, it was no big deal. I spent more time thinking about the larger puzzle that was tickling against the back of my mind. I saw a painting once that showed a couple of guys climbing a hill. At first, there was nothing special about it, but if you stepped back and you let your eyes relax, the whole scene turned into a picture of a grinning skull. I felt Edgeview was like that. Whatever I saw right now, it wasn't the whole picture. I needed to step back and let my eyes drift. I wasn't sure how to do that. At the moment, all I could do was keep my eyes open and wait for things to fall into place. But at least I got along with my roommate and his friends, and they treated me okay. The guys even tried to give me a nickname. Flinch said that they should call me Squirt because I really had a knack for pissing off the teachers. Fortunately, the name didn't stick. As smart as Cheater was, Flinch was brilliant in his own way. He didn't have a million facts in his head, but he could think up stuff really fast. Flinch saw connections. Smart or not, he got in as much trouble as the rest of us. Not only was he pretty distracted most of the time and as jumpy as a cat in a room full of pit bulls, I do not like that very much, but he also interrupted the teachers a lot. They tended not to appreciate that. As for Friday nights and the big secret, I don't know how long, if ever, it would have taken before they told me. But on Wednesday of the 3rd week, I was walking down the hall when I heard the unmistakable sound of Cheater yelping in pain. I spun back and saw Bloodbath had just tossed Cheater against the wall. "Watch where you're going next time," Bloodbath said. He grabbed Cheater with one hand and raised the other fist. Oh boy, I knew this routine. No matter what Cheater said or did, Bloodbath would pound him for a while. I scanned the halls for the one thing that might save Cheater. No luck. There wasn't a teacher in sight, but Bloodbath didn't know that. Trying not to think about how stupid it was to approach Bloodbath, I ran over and pointed to the door of the nearest classroom. Langhorne and Davis are coming out, I said, trying to fill my voice with panic. It wasn't hard. Bloodbath flashed a smile at me, then he punched me on the shoulder. I guess that was his way of saying thanks and slunk away in the opposite direction. Thanks, Cheater said. Anytime. I guess Cheater told Lucky what had happened because at the end of the third week on Friday evening, as soon as we'd gone upstairs after dinner, Torchy let me in on their secret. Friday nights, he said, looking nervously around our room as if the walls and the ceiling were filled with hidden microphones. We do something special. Oh, really? I asked, trying to sound surprised. He nodded. Yeah, there's no way anyone would know. That's because we're real careful. We never tell anyone, but we talked about it and everyone thinks that you're okay. What we do is we sneak off into the town. You want to come? Absolutely. My pulse sped at the possibility of getting outside Edgeview. Even a few hours would be wonderful. We were allowed into the schoolyard, but that was as far as we could go. Sorry. It seemed as if they were afraid to let us be seen in town. They never let us leave the school unless our folks came for us on the weekends. Mine hadn't. I was ready to climb the walls. Where do you go? Torchy shrugged. Usually the arcade. Sometimes we just hang out. Well, sounds fine to me. Maybe I could even get a slice of pizza or some other real food. The very thought was enough to make me drool. So that evening, I learned the story of Lucky's great escape route. And I'm just going to do this one because it's really quick. This is chapter 18, Why I Like Being Me by Philip Gregg. And we know that that is Torchy. All right, so this says, I like being me because I'm friendly. I get along with everyone. Well, almost everyone who doesn't hit people, if you know what I mean. I have lots of friends. Sometimes I lose friends because their stuff gets burned up and they blame me. Even if it's not my fault. I never done nothing. They say I did. But even so, I have lots of friends, which is good. And that's the biggest reason why I like being me. And you can see it's like kind of burned up, very torchy.